Okay, let's start with a wild idea. What if every single person you've ever met, every hero and every villain in history, was actually you? I know, it sounds crazy, but that's the mind-bending premise of The Egg by Andy Weir. It's this incredible short story that kicks off at the very end of a life, and, well, it ends with the beginning of everything. So the story, it really doesn't waste any time. There's no slow buildup or anything like that. Nope. We are dropped right into the final moments of our protagonist's life, like right as it's all over. And get this, the story puts you right in the protagonist's shoes. It begins, you were on your way home when you died. It was a car crash, nothing particularly remarkable, but fatal nonetheless. And it's this totally ordinary end that becomes the launchpad for something absolutely extraordinary. So what happens after you die? Well, forget the pearly gates, forget fiery pits. Instead, you wake up in this total void, just nothingness. Except you're not alone. There's this presence with you. And that's where the conversation starts. And this is where the story really takes off. It's a back and forth that's going to systematically just dismantle every single thing you thought you knew about life, about death, and even about yourself. I mean, after the initial shock of being told, hey, you died, what's the first question you'd ask? The figure you're talking to isn't what you'd expect either. The story says they're more like a grammar school teacher than the Almighty. So naturally, you've got to ask the big one. And the answer you get? There's no booming voice from the heavens, no big celestial fanfare. It's just a simple, totally matter-of-fact, yep, I'm God. And with that one little word, bam, the rules of reality just start to melt away. So, God starts explaining things. First up, you're going to be reincarnated. Okay, that sounds familiar, right? But then, here comes the twist. Your next life isn't in the future. It's way back in the past, as a Chinese peasant girl in 540 AD. Turns out, time, the way we experience it anyway, it only exists inside our universe. Where God's from, things are, well, they're a lot different. So right away, we've got a brand new set of rules for how existence works. You're going to be reincarnated. Time isn't what you think it is, and you actually have all the knowledge from your past lives already inside you. The catch? You just can't remember it right now. Your human brain is just too limited to access all that information at once. It's kind of like trying to understand the entire ocean by just dipping your finger in it. Okay, so after God lays out the mechanics of reincarnation, the conversation shifts to the really big question. What's the point of it all? And the answer, oh man, the answer is the absolute heart of this entire story. God's explanation starts with this really cryptic, almost confusing line. There is no one else. In this universe, there's just you and me. He says the whole point of the universe wasn't for all of humanity to mature, it was for you. And of course, the protagonist is totally confused. You're thinking, wait a minute, what about the billions of other people on Earth? My friends, my family, strangers, every single person in history. Where did they fit in if this whole universe was made just for me? And then it hits. The big, staggering realization. All those other people, they are you. You are every single human being who has ever lived and who ever will live. You're just different versions, different incarnations of the exact same consciousness. Just take a second to let that sink in. The sheer scale of that idea. You're not just one person living through history. You are all of them. The hero and the villain. The oppressor and the oppressed. You are Abraham Lincoln, and at the same time you are John Wilkes Booth. You are Hitler, and you are every single one of the millions he killed. The moral implications of this are just massive. You know the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you? Well, in this universe, that's not just a nice suggestion, it's a literal physical law. Every single act of kindness you've ever done, you were doing it to yourself. And every time you victimized someone, you were victimizing yourself. You will experience it all. Okay, so we get the what, but now the conversation turns to the biggest question of all. Why? What's the purpose of this huge, cosmic, and honestly, pretty lonely cycle? And this is the question that gives the story its title. Why? Why do all this? Why would you create an entire universe just for one soul to live out every single human life? What's the end game here? What is the point of all this joy, all this suffering, all this experience? The answer is the whole metaphor of the story. The entire universe, all the galaxies, all the stars, all of human history, it's nothing more than an egg, a cosmic egg. And you're what's inside, growing. And the reason you have to live every single human life is to get enough experience, to mature enough to finally be born. Once you've lived through everything it means to be human, every perspective, every single moment, good and bad, you will have grown enough to hatch from that egg. And when you do, you'll be born as a god, just like the one you've been talking to this whole time. I mean, what a story, right? It's so short, but so incredibly powerful. So, who's the brain behind this whole thing? Let's take a quick look at the author, Andy Weir. You might be surprised to learn Andy Weir's background isn't in philosophy or religion. It's actually in science and programming. He was a software engineer for years, and he's a self-described space nerd. He loves stuff like relativistic physics and orbital mechanics, and you can totally see how that passion for science influenced his other, more famous books. So, The Egg first popped up on his personal website way back in 2009, and it was a huge sign of what was to come. A few years later, he self-published this little novel you might have heard of called The Martian, which just exploded. It became a massive bestseller, a huge movie, you know the story. Since then, he's given us other awesome sci-fi novels like Artemis and Project Hail Mary. And this is the cover art for the story. It really does a great job of capturing that huge cosmic idea, right? You can see this single consciousness at the very center of a universe, of interconnected lives, all part of this one big process of growing up. And that's really where the story leaves us, with this incredibly powerful question to chew on. If every single person you ever meet is just another version of you, how does that change the way you live your life? A pretty profound thought to end on, right?